Okay, on the last video, when I ended, I talked to you about this small business, which is essentially homeopathy or essential flower remedies for probably falling under I've derived the idea that they fall under something called vibrational medicine for the mainstream and more of a um, homeopathic thing for the uh, probably alternative medicine segment. And these are things I'm still determining. But I wanted to point out to you that if I had had a pay-per-click list of money keywords from this client, this is a case for people like John Keel and Mr. Black. They almost always get a pay-per-click from a client if they've done that. Those lists would have been imported in the same way on the View Themes cluster screen for on this particular VOMA. I would have probably just gone ahead and imported that list and looked at it right here. Notice I haven't done any breakaways. But one of the most interesting discussions occurred about what to do with this site, and it was over an hour on the phone with the client. And it's important to include you in on those kinds of conversations. Otherwise, you would think that Krakken is 100% automated and doesn't require your business advisory. It absolutely does. One of the interesting conversations that came up was, is he building this massive portal site that covers all these general terms like those meta tag data, the meta tag data that was wrongly placed on the site on every page, and just very general stuff. It's very typical of SEO that's been done poorly. But the interesting conversation, since we knew that Bach flower remedies are the major synomic association with Flora Live. In other words, guys, when you put flower remedies in the search engine, they will come back pretty much synomic. The reason is because Bach flower remedies dominate the flower remedy market, the flower essence market. One of the ways you can tell this manually, not using any application, simply doing a tilde key for flower remedy, you'll see that Bach is involved in the first listing. Even though he's not bold, meaning they're not primarily coming back as a hard synonym on Google, they are definitely in the rankings, and they own that particular market segment online, which Dr. Brent was able to give me data that he'd paid for, very useful, and there's about $40 million that they could find of actual UPC code purchases on basic flower remedies in the market. But the conversation about Dr. Bach is very important. He cannot directly use that. His article, Dr. Bach is Smiling, is essentially an ode to Dr. Bach, how he was in tune with what was going on there when he created this whole tradition, which is a spin-off of the Bach type system. But of course, he's only targeting Dr. Bach. Is that really the most expensive term? Because he can still use these articles on the new site when it comes over. This is an opportunity then to use the VOMA. What you can do is just add a new theme on this VOMA. Just go ahead and type Dr. Bach, because he's already been targeting that, and he has a substantial amount of information to talk about when it comes to that. Remember, we're in VOMA mode, and I'm not pulling any of these. We're still building the select all function for this, guys. Just click delete and continue. Dr. Bach is 3 clicks a day on average, and we're going to see in the next screen how many natural queries there are. I'm not showing any natural searches on this particular one. It's okay to make mistakes, guys. I think what I did here is wrong. Let's go back to view all themes for this cluster. I'm going to just blow it away. Yep, I'm sure. I'm going to try going to this again, add a new theme. I'm going to do doctor without the dot. Create. Click continue. Go ahead and select that. Now we are showing some natural searches without the dot and a very low total search market value per year. And again, after extensive discussion with the client, they're only going for Dr. Bach. Let's look at some other things. If you go ahead and do a drill, you could either type them in manually if you know the different definitions already from the previous screen, or you could just drill the screen and see what synonyms come up for Dr. Bach, or keywords rather. Now, since I had an important call with him, it's pretty obvious when I bring this back that there are other terms besides Dr. Bach that might be more valuable but are the same term, that you could swap this term out within the site. Dr. Bach, it could be Dr. Edward Bach is Smiling. It could be Dr. Bach's Essences. Who knows, but it's going to be worth a whole heck of a lot more money than $700 a year. Chances are, if it's a low total search market value, it's going to be a low ROI and search query. Here's an interesting subtlety. Edward Bach, the same Dr. Bach, is $9,000 a year if you use his name rather than Dr. Bach. By one single change, he would have created a 10 times return on investment by using Dr. Edward Bach is Smiling instead of Dr. Bach is Smiling. See you when we get right back.